Welcome back to another episode of Journey of the Wounded Masculine, where we discuss the dynamics between masculine energies, feminine energies, just our own personal challenges in life, and the wisdom we gain from them so we can bring more balance and harmony into our everyday lives. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Shane. And welcome to the show.
Yay, episode 3.
Episode 3. Well, we're going to start with doing takeaways from last week's episode. And last week's episode was what about?
Grounded.
And consciousness.
What the hell is consciousness?
What the hell is consciousness, yeah. So we got some feedback from last week's show, and we wanted to share that with you and kind of address some of the questions that have been coming up. So let me read something that came up for us from a young man. He wanted to ask what a father is, what a husband is in this day and age, and does he have to be the breadwinner to be the man of the house? I thought it was an interesting question coming from a young 20-year-old and a family man and a father, so I wanted to address that today with you.
Great.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to start with. And so recap the question again. What is it like to be...
I think what he was kind of getting at is, being the breadwinner, what does that mean in this day and age? In our parents' generation, or even the greatest generation, that had a whole different meaning to being the breadwinner than what it does today. Usually it takes two incomes to make a household run these days.
Yep.
And there's those dynamics. And so I guess he was just asking, as a young father and being a husband, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I in today's day and age, I don't think there's many families out there that where the man is the sole breadwinner.
True.
And I think, that the dynamics, we're in different dynamics than those times, to where the masculine and feminine are kind of, and I think this is kind of actually a negative thing that I see in our society is that, men and women are, women are more masculine now, and they're out doing the work and doing some. I mean, a lot. So, and I think it's just really shifted the energies on both sides.
Yeah, and I think that was doing a disservice to be the breadwinner for the man, too much pressure on the man to be just the sole provider for the family when, the women are very capable of doing great jobs and doing it better than men in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really boils down to, what does your wife want to do? What do you want to do? What is it that you guys can come together in harmony with and say, this works for our family unit? And being a parent, if that works for you to be the sole breadwinner, then and then your wife wants to stay home, and that's what you agree upon, and there's no resentment, I see no problem in that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
I see nothing wrong with that. And kind of what's coming up for me right now is, I think there's a lot of men out there. Maybe this question is coming from this, if I'm not the main breadwinner, does that, deflate my masculinity? Am I not as much of a man if I can't do that? And my answer to that question is hell no. In today's day and age, I mean, we're seeing rising inflation. It's really hard unless you're wealthy, and have a very good paying job to be the sole worker in the house.
Sure. And I used to do that. I used to be the breadwinner of the home. The first 10 years of my marriage with the kids' mom, I was. That was the agreement we had, though. So I worked every day, and she worked at the home, taking care of the kids and taking care of the home. And her job was more important than mine. I'm just actually making the money to go buy the bread. But she was really raising the children from day to day. I don't know that I could do that today. If I had to start off brand new and I'm 20-some years old, and just depending just on my paycheck alone, unless I was fortunate enough to have a really great job right off the get-go, and that usually doesn't happen. So I think the answer to this question is it's really up to your relationship and how you talk to your wife about, what does she want? You don't want to stifle her and say that I'm going to make all the money, or vice versa. So.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that, are we less of a man if, say, our wives make more money than we do? How does that make us feel?
It should be fine.
It should be fine.
It should be fine,
Right.
you know. But I could see where there's a lot of men out there that wouldn't feel good.
True.
It would definitely hurt their ego a bit.
Yeah.
You know.
I'd be proud of my woman. She made more money than me. Good, honey. I'm glad that you're doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, go ahead, make all the money you want.
Absolutely.
That means the less money I got to make.
Yeah. That was a great question. That was a great question by one of our subscribers, and just wanted to address that one.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I want to share is a little bit about my personal story of, you know, when I was in my 20s, let's see here, I had a period of like going to college and then working and going to college, you know, so like working 40 hours a week and going to school like 12 to 14 credits and then having kids at home with my ex-wife.
Sure.
And then around 2008 or 2009 or whatever, like I lost my job. I didn't have enough money for my school, and
It was a tough year.
it was a tough year. And man, the years got tougher as they went too. And I ended up having a period where I was the stay-at-home dad. You know, my wife at the time, she was the one going out to work each day, and I was the stay-at-home dad, and you know, and I really loved that
Yeah.
that portion. You know, it was really great to get to be with the kids all day, and
So when your wife was the breadwinner, how did that make you feel?
yeah, it didn't make me feel bad at all. You know,
Good.
I mean, you know me. I'm not on the hyper masculine side. I'm kind of like on the less masculine side. So those like attachments to like the masculine ideals, I've never really had to
Tackle them.
tackle with much. You know,
Sure.
my life journey is more about, well, how do I, you know, find the healthy masculine ideals and like move towards them.
You know something, yeah, and that's a great point. I didn't even realize that about you, that you got to experience that. You know something, when I was growing up, you know, we had a lot of farmers where I'm from, and where you're from too, you know, and when I was going to high school, some of the farmer kids, they'd be out, you know, in the fields. You know, they had to skip school for a few days to go out and do the field. Well, the family unit back then, the farmers, you know, the mom, the dad, they worked on the farm together with the children. So they were raising them both all the time. Their jobs, you know, they took the kids out in the fields. They, you know, they would do everything that the farmers are doing. And that family dynamic is something that's been lost other than our farmers. You know, but even today, our farmers aren't doing the same things they used to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting how we've progressed and digressed at the same time with moving into society and moving into the technologies, but also losing that family unit, you know, of coming together. So,
Yeah, I mean, families now are much different than, you know, what families were for centuries,
sure.
you know? And I think this is something that we all have to, you know, we're all in a learning process here. It's like all this newer technology, and it's shifting the way we're living, it's shifting the way we interact with each other, it's shifting our households, and, you know, we all have to shift with it, because it's the changing times of the world.
And I think it's when you have that partner, you have your wife, or, you know, vice versa, it's really just having that clear communication and talking, hey, what do we want? How do we want to raise our children? Do we want one, you know, the dad or the mom home, whatever makes the most sense for your family? And as long as there's no resentment in that relationship because of that, I think that's where you're going to come to that agreement.
Mhm.
Would you say?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to add?
I don't believe so.
Thanks for that question, and keep them coming. We'll address this in a small segment like we just did, just to address the questions that come, and then we'll have our next episode, episode 3. So what would you want to call this one?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to call this episode 3 or if we want to just call it
Key takeaways from the previous episode.
episode 2 key takeaways.
Like it.
Something like that.
Sure.
Was there any other takeaways we wanted to add to this?
Just got some real positive feedback, and through the, you know, you've been talking on the page, and then through some Facebook things I've been listening to, but nothing real major like they want questions answered, but just
Okay.
a lot of great positive feedback, and we thank you guys for that. And you know, it is truly the wind in our sails to do these episodes and continue on. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of like in the future, maybe once or twice a month doing like live
The Q&A.
Q&A
Right.
kind of sessions, like where people can ask questions live and we can answer and discuss like what people want to hear.
Sure.
So
And another thing we're going to do is try to break it up into smaller sections of our episodes so that you can really, we know you're busy out there. We know you have a lot of things to do. So we'll just shorten up our videos and keep the same content, but just break it up in like part 1 or part 2 if possible.
yeah, more videos that are shorter.
Right. More content.
So, yeah, more content. Trying to do like 2 or 3 a week.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Cool. Yeah, so I think that sums up this one, right?
Yep.
Well, great.
Thanks for joining us again, and see you in episode 3.
Peace.